to our top lead this evening. Over 240 days and counting, Manish Sisodia has been in jail since February 26th when he was arrested by the CBI. And he will continue to remain there, very least for another 3 months. This is because the Supreme Court today rejected the former Delhi Deputy Chief Minister's plea seeking bail in cases filed by the Enforcement Directorate and the CBI in the alleged liquor scam. The two-judge bench very significantly said agencies have tentatively established a money trail of 338 crore rupees and hence the Aam Aadmi Party leader cannot be granted relief at this point. The Supreme Court remarked that the trial would conclude in the coming 6 to 8 months, and if the proceedings are slow or sloppy, Sisodia can approach them once again for bail. Manish Sisodia was arrested by the CBI on February 26th this year for alleged corruption in the now scrapped liquor policy. A few days later, on March 9th, the Aam Aadmi Party leader was arrested by the Enforcement Directorate in an alleged money laundering case. The former Delhi Deputy Chief Minister is accused of making changes to the now scrapped Delhi excise policy to benefit liquor companies in return for kickbacks. He's also accused of misusing his then position of excise minister and causing a massive loss to the exchequer by increasing the profit margin for wholesalers to 12%. All this while, the Aam Aadmi Party has been asking, where is this bribe money that agencies and the BJP have been talking about? Now, no less than the Supreme Court is saying that agencies have established a money trail.
ये सवाल, इस सवाल का जवाब तो आज भी वही है, क्योंकि ईडी के अपने आरोपों में भी मनीष सिसोदिया के पास कोई भी पैसा पहुंचते हुए वो नहीं दिखा रहे हैं। तो ये 338 का फिगर क्या है, ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट की बहस में नहीं आया था आज तक। और ये 338 करोड़ का मनीष सिसोदिया जी के साथ क्या लिंक है, इसको भी एक बारी ऑर्डर देख के समझना पड़ेगा। लेकिन जैसे मैंने कहा, आम आदमी पार्टी एक ईमानदार पार्टी है। चाहे कितने भी आरोप ईडी, सीबीआई, दिल्ली पुलिस लगा ले, कोई भी सबूत साबित नहीं होगा, क्योंकि आम आदमी पार्टी ने ना आज तक 1 रुपए का भ्रष्टाचार किया है, ना करेगी।
I just feel bail is his basic right, but I'm not privy to the complete story, so I can't comment on it because I have not heard. I was too busy with our own hearing, so I have not followed up on that one.
आज माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने मनीष सिसोदिया की बेल रिजेक्ट कर दी है और इस निर्णय के बाद यह स्पष्ट हो गया है कि ये मनीष सिसोदिया सहित आम आदमी पार्टी का शीर्ष गैंग ये पूरी तरह से भ्रष्टाचार में लिप्त है और इनका मनी ट्रेल इस्टेब्लिश हो चुका है। ये लोग शराब घोटाले में, तरह तरह के भ्रष्टाचार में इतने लिप्त हो चुके हैं कि अब इनको माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट भी बेल देने से इनकार कर दिया है। और मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि जो पाप करता है वो एक न एक दिन उसके सामने आता है और आम आदमी पार्टी के शीर्ष नेताओं का अब गिरफ्तार होना बहुत करीब दिख रहा है। अरविंद केजरीवाल की भी गिरफ्तारी निश्चित रूप से होगी, क्योंकि ये पूरा आम आदमी पार्टी का जो शीर्ष नेतृत्व का एक कुनबा है वो पूरी तरह से भ्रष्टाचार में लिप्त है। और आज माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट के द्वारा बेल रिजेक्ट करना मनीष सिसोदिया का एक बहुत बड़ा प्रमाण है।
My guest this evening, Bansuri Swaraj, is Secretary, Delhi BJP, joining us on the broadcast. Sanjay Hegde is a senior advocate joining us on the broadcast. And we have Parvinder Singh Sethi, who's a political analyst, will be speaking on behalf of the Aam Aadmi Party. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I'm going to the senior lawyer first. Mr. Hegde, how do we understand and how do we read the judgment that has come out? They have just uploaded the judgment. I've not been in a position to read the entire thing, but this is what I have. And this is the one aspect I want to speak to you about. The court, while pronouncing the order, said, and I'm going to quote them because I don't want a jhad from the Supreme Court, legal questions have been answered in a limited way. In the analysis, there are certain aspects which we said are doubtful. And let's put that graphic on our screens for our viewers as well. But one aspect, the Supreme Court says, with regards to transfer of money, rupees 338 crore rupees is tentatively established. This is what the Supreme Court is saying while pronouncing the order and not giving Mr. Manish Sisodia bail this time as well. How do we read this? What do we understand from this?
Well, I would say that it is indeed a setback for the Aam Aadmi Party, but what Mr. Sisodia's team argued in court was that, look, there is no evidence of a trail of money which was deposited with Mr. Sisodia. Now, the prosecution argued that it was not necessary for the money to have actually gone into Mr. Sisodia's hands, but the fact that he had control over it or domain over it was enough to establish possession. Essentially, the prosecution case was that there was a certain amount of money which had been transacted in respect of a policy change, and that money was used in the Goa elections. Now, whether Mr. Sisodia had it in his hands or not was immaterial, is what the prosecution alleged. Now, the Supreme Court was faced with a situation where it said that for the purposes of whether to immediately grant bail or not, we have to see whether there is a case that the prosecution can argue. That is why the words tentative. And that is why they've said that let the prosecution try and establish it in court. If it does not do it within 3 months, then you are free to seek bail again, and the trial court can go ahead with the bail application uninfluenced by any of the observations of the Supreme Court today. The Supreme Court was very careful in what it said. It said that for the moment, there is a tentative money trail established from the fact that there was a change in the liquor policy. As a result of the change in liquor policy, people who are entitled to 5% earlier got 12%. The difference in figures comes to some 368 crores. And that is the money trail which the Supreme Court has, for the time being, not affirmed, but said that it is enough to go to trial on. I may have my own doubts about whether this is a healthy situation, but leave it apart. I'm only telling you what the Supreme Court has held today.
Okay, I'll come to you about why you think this is not a healthy situation, but let me get in an Aam Aadmi Party reaction. Parvinder Singh Sethi, we heard from Atishi there. She's saying we continue to, yes, this is a setback, but we continue to remain a Kattar Imandar party. Fact is, forget what the opposition is saying, forget what the BJP is saying. Fact is, the Supreme Court now has also rejected the bail that Mr. Manish Sisodia had applied for. The High Court has done it in the past. Now the Supreme Court has done it. And the Supreme Court is also saying that 338 crore rupees, a money trail, has been tentatively established. All this while, आप लोग परविंदर जी क्या कह रहे थे? पैसा कहाँ है, पैसा कहाँ है? आप कह रहे हैं 100 करोड़, आप कह रहे हैं 300 करोड़, लेकिन ये पैसा है कहाँ? मनी ट्रेल है कहाँ? आज तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट कह रही है कि जितना एविडेंस उन्होंने देखा है, जो एजेंसीज ने उनको दिया है, उससे तो ऐसा टेंटेटिवली लग रहा है कि ये 338 करोड़ रुपीस का मनी ट्रेल मिल गया। अब क्या बोलेंगे आप?
नहीं, देखिए, जो कोर्ट की प्रोसीडिंग्स चल रही हैं और जो कोर्ट ने ये कहा है कि ऐसा लगता है कि यहाँ पे इस तरह 338 करोड़ रुपए का ट्रांजैक्शन हुआ है, लेकिन मनीष सिसोदिया कहाँ इन्वॉल्व है? अगर उसमें उनके पास से एक पैसे की रिकवरी नहीं है, अगर उनको बेल नहीं मिलती तो उसका मतलब ये साबित नहीं होता कि वो अभी उसका फैसला हो गया और उनके आरोप सिद्ध हो गए। अभी ट्रायल चल रहा है कोर्ट का, कोर्ट ने बेल नहीं दी। कोर्ट देखिए, जब ईडी या सीबीआई खड़ी होकर उसका आईओ बोलता है कि हमें अभी इन्वेस्टिगेट करना है, तो कोर्ट की मजबूरी हो जाती है कि कोर्ट उनको समय देता है। कोर्ट सीबीआई को और चाहे ईडी हो, उन एजेंसीज की बात पहले सुनता है, उनके आईओ की बात पहले सुनता है। लेकिन ये बात तय है, आप देखिए ना, अगर किसी व्यक्ति ने अभी आप बाकी जगहों पे देखिए, अगर किसी ने पार्टी डोनेशन लिया है, उसको आप ब्राइब थोड़ी कह सकते हैं। अभी ये चीज एस्टेब्लिश नहीं हुई है। अभी आप देखिए अडानी जी को लाखों करोड़ के आपने उनके जो कर्ज थे वो माफ कर दिए, बड़े बड़े जो व्यापारी थे उनके कर्ज माफ कर दिए, उनको डोनेशन मिली है। लेकिन एक विपक्षी पार्टी को टारगेट करके उनको पॉलिटिकली डैमेज करना, उनको डिफेम करना, ये टारगेट है। मैं कहता हूं अगर किसी व्यक्ति ने गलत काम करा, चाहे वो भारतीय जनता पार्टी का, चाहे आम आदमी का, चाहे कांग्रेस का, उसके ऊपर एक्शन होना चाहिए, उसको सजा होनी चाहिए। लेकिन आप पॉलिटिकली मोटिवेट होकर संवैधानिक संस्थाओं का मिसयूज करके अपने विपक्षी जो नेता हैं उनको टारगेट करके, अभी आप देखिए हेमंत बिस्व शर्मा जो पहले जिनके ऊपर बड़ा टारगेट था, वो
वो बात में
चले जाते हैं, वो सारी चीज खत्म हो जाती है।
अगर परविंदर जी, ना रुक जाइए परविंदर जी, रुक जाइए। परविंदर जी सुनिए मेरी बात सुनिए। सुप्रीम कोर्ट तो पॉलिटिकली मोटिवेटेड नहीं है। आज का जो जजमेंट है वो तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने दिया है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट तो पॉलिटिकली मोटिवेटेड नहीं है। और आप क्या कह रहे हैं? आप कह रहे हैं कि 338 करोड़ रुपीस का मनी ट्रेल एस्टैब्लिश हुआ हो या ना हुआ हो, इसमें मनीष सिसोदिया का क्या लेना देना? अरे मनीष सिसोदिया एक्साइज मंत्री थे जिस समय की ये बात है। तो ये तो बड़ी अजीब बात कह रहे हैं आप कि पार्टी में किसी और ने लिया होगा, मनीष सिसोदिया ने नहीं लिया होगा। ये किस तरह का लॉजिक है? बांसुरी स्वराज
नहीं
बांसुरी स्वराज, लेट बांसुरी स्वराज का,
मैं ये नहीं कह रहा, मैं ये कह रहा हूं
बोलिए चलिए बात खत्म करिए। आप कह रहे हैं कोर्ट ने कहा लगता है। बांसुरी स्वराज, मिस्टर हेगड़े एंड मिस्टर
कि ऐसा लगता है,
समझ गए?
नहीं लेकिन
लगता है। अब जरा बांसुरी को भी ले आते हैं, सुन लीजिए परमिंदर जी, जरा उनकी भी बात सुन लीजिए, सुननी दीजिए ना। वो भी तो ऑपोजिशन, वो मतलब ऑपोजिशन दिल्ली में है, वैसे तो वो रूलिंग पार्टी है। Mr. Hegde and Mr. Parvinder Singh, both Bansuri Swaraj, are saying this, and you're a lawyer as well, that please be cognizant of what the Supreme Court has said. The Supreme Court has been very cautious. The Supreme Court has said, but one aspect with regard to transfer of money, rupees 338 crores is tentatively established. They haven't said established. They have said tentatively established. So there is no reason for the BJP right now to rejoice.
No, I'll tell you why. So at the stage of bail, Shreya, one can only look at a prima facie case. Mr. Arvind Kejriwal has been making these tall claims that his party and his members of his party are Kattar Imandar. Now there has been application of judicial mind at trial court level, at high court level, and at Supreme Court level. And what has happened is all three courts have found the same. I'm going to read out a paragraph from the judgment of the Supreme Court of India. This is paragraph number 21, where it says, there is one clear ground or charge in the complaint filed by the PMLA Act, which is free from perceptible legal challenge and facts as alleged are tentatively supported by material and evidence, which means that the investigating agencies have provided material to actually prove this. What have they proved? 581 crore rupees were actually granted or were provided as part of new excise policy was in operation to the wholesale distributors. So liquor barons got 581 crores and the government, in a very skewed manner, got only 70 crores. This is paragraph 21 of the judgment at page 30. And now kindly see what we have been talking about kickbacks. The High Court judgment and the trial court judgment said 90 to 100 crore rupees were actually routed at kickbacks by Mr. Manish Sisodia, who manipulated the policy. The Supreme Court also recognizes this. Paragraph number 24, this is page 33 of the judgment. I'll just read a couple of lines. The existing excise policy was changed to facilitate and get kickbacks and bribes from the wholesale distributors by enhancing their commission fee from 5% under the old policy to 12% under the new policy. Accordingly, a 12%. Conspiracy was hatched to carefully draft the new policy, deviating from expert opinion views to create an ecosystem to assure unjust enrichment of the wholesale distributors. This is exactly what the Bhajpa has been saying. Today's judgment See, I understand why the word tentatively is used. The word tentatively is used because trial is still pending, but at the stage of bail, you have to see whether a prima facie case is made out or not. Supreme Court, in these observations, very clearly shows that yes, indeed, a prima facie case has been made out, where Mr. Manish Sisodia manipulated the excise policy to ensure that members of a certain liquor lobby were unjustly be enriched and given corruption money. And second, kickbacks and bribes were rerouted for the benefit of the Aam Aadmi Party. This is exactly what the Bhajpa has been saying. Today there has been application of judicial mind from 3/4 of the land.
Okay, Sanjay Hegde, you, during the beginning of the debate said this is not a very healthy situation to find ourselves in. Why is that?
Well, primarily what troubles me is the finding of the Supreme Court, and forget the parties involved here, that you do not need to be in possession of the money. The money does not have to come into your hands or into your account. It is enough if the prosecution alleges that you had control over the money. Now that means if somebody pays you, Shreya, and says that the money was actually Sanjay Hegde's, and that Sanjay Hegde could exercise control over Shreya Dhoundial, then you would be free and I would be inside a prison. That is what really bothers me. The Money Laundering Act was meant for some very specific purposes. The specific purposes were under the international conventions were for drugs and arms money. Now you have corruption, and so many other IPC crimes which have all been added as scheduled offences in the PMLA. The net has been cast so wide. It has been selectively applied. Right now, it is being applied to politicians. But while it is being applied to politicians, a lot of law is being laid down which affect citizens at large. The same 100 crore figure, which is being alleged against Manish Sisodia, tomorrow somebody may say it is 10 lakhs between the two of us, for instance. And we would be all in the same racket of bail being denied and the trial to go on indefinitely. I think the prosecution is getting too free a pass in such instances.
Okay. The only silver lining today for Manish Sisodia is that the Supreme Court has asked for the trial to be fast-tracked. They're saying wrap it up in 6 to 8 months. Otherwise, Manish Sisodia has absolute right to come back to us again and seek bail. Yes, Bansuri, 20 seconds. I'm out of time. 20 seconds, please.
Actually, it was a submission by the prosecution itself that said that they would like to conclude the trial between 6 to 8 months, on which the judges said that all right, and that is why in 3 months, if there is any kind of delay or latches in the trial, then he can be granted bail, or he can at least apply for bail, which will be considered on its own merit before the trial court.
All right, we'll leave it there. Growing up, all of us have heard, all of you, of course, know the law much better than I do, that bail is the norm, jail is the exception. Doesn't seem to be working that way, at least for opposition leaders. We'll leave it there for the moment. Bansuri Swaraj, thank you very much for joining us. Sanjay Hegde, thank you very much. Parvinder ji, bahut bahut dhanyawad. Thank you very much for joining us as well.